case is really worth, I'm Spencer Callahan. I'd like to help.
Spencer Callahan is the one to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7970.
WNXX Jackson, KNXX Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers. LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from Mercedes-Benz at Baton Rouge Studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. Means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Happy Halloween. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos and fired up. You're here with us the next couple of hours. We're working towards the weekend. No LSU game this weekend, but the Saints will be in action. We'll talk Saints with Luke Johnson from The Advocate coming up here in 15 minutes. Jay Johnson, LSU head baseball coach, going to give us a fall ball update coming up at 1:30. Best win, worst loss, college football and the National Football League, of course. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, at 2:15. Bryce Underwood, we did not get to him yesterday. We'll talk about that a little bit later today. Underwood and Gillery makes an announcement that he is coming back, so we'll talk about all of that over the next 2 hours. I'm kind of sweating the weather here, Beck. We understand that trick-or-treating is supposed to go on this evening. My guy is excited about it. Going to wear his dinosaur costume. Super pumped. I have two weather apps. I often check both. One of them I just looked at, and just for percentages, gave me on the hourly 6 p.m., 100%.
Yeah, that's what I got.
7 p.m., 100%.
I got 95.
Okay. The other weather app that I have that I'm looking at, that I just sent a picture of my to my wife of, says 6 o'clock, 34%,
Okay.
7 o'clock, 29%.
Now,
So what am I supposed to do with that?
I wonder if, like, because I know that sometimes when you look at a weather app, it's based on your location, so it could be like here as compared to your. I mean, I don't know. I'd be
We're
surprised.
talking 4 miles.
Yeah, it's not that far, but maybe it could be a difference. I don't know.
Who's to say?
I mean, that would be good for you.
And look, I'm just trying to get to 4 houses. That's really all we're looking for here. We can just get a little bit of candy, get a couple of dinosaur roars, snap a couple pictures, go home, eat some pizza, and watch football. I'll be fine. But the little guy's excited about it. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But for those that are doing some trick or treating this evening, hope you're safe and happy and get plenty of candy at the house. All right, let's crank things up here as we do every single day with our opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. As you're well aware, LSU does not play this weekend. So you've got options as a football fan. I'm assuming most of you that are listening are football fans and LSU fans. You can decide you're going to play golf. You can go on a date night. Maybe somebody that you know is getting married because they knew this was going to be the bye weekend. Maybe you want to zone out of football after last week's disaster. So you're going to go out and get on the water or mow the yard or do something around the house you're supposed to do. Maybe you're going to lock in from 11 a.m. through midnight and just absolutely veg out on football that you don't really have a total investment in. Whatever you want to do with your bye week, completely up to you. I support all of it. But I have decided that I'm going to give you a roadmap as the LSU fan as to what your rooting interest should be. Usually we didn't have to look too far as the rooting interest. You looked at the West, how you stood there, and then you looked at kind of what was going on in the college football playoff and the teams ahead of you needed to lose. Well, we don't have those rankings yet, and there are more slots in the college football playoff. There's still 5 weeks of play left, so there are a lot more variables than there usually are. So I took the liberty of going through the entire schedule, identifying the games that I think matter to LSU as far as making the college football playoff, and I'll tell you who to root for. Now, keep in mind, this exercise depends upon LSU beating Alabama, beating Florida, beating Vanderbilt, and beating Oklahoma. If LSU doesn't win all of those games, we don't care because you're not going to make the college football playoff with a third, fourth, or fifth loss. Understood? So for the purpose of this exercise, LSU has won its last 4 games. These are the folks you need to pull for this weekend when you're watching football. We'll start in the Southeastern Conference. We got Georgia, Florida. Little bit of a toss-up here, but I'll explain. You're talking about with Georgia, they've got a conference loss. If they lost this game, that would mean they had 2 conference losses, which puts them behind you as a one-loss team. That's a good thing. You may have a chance to go to the SEC championship game if Georgia falls behind you. So that on its face means, yeah, you pull for Florida in this game. However, I can maybe phrase it a different way, and we talked about this yesterday in power rankings. If Georgia gets ahead 21-0, 17-0, 24-3, like if they get ahead, maybe at that point you start to, pull for Georgia to just blow them out. Why? Because you want LSU to go in the most hospitable environment they can go into in Gainesville, quite frankly. That's still a variable that's out there, that you're going to go to the Swamp. Maybe they're full of life because they feel like they're onto something. Maybe it's complete disrepair because Georgia beat them by 40 and Texas beat them by 40 next week. So, start the game pulling for Florida to win. If it starts getting away from Florida, hope it gets way away from Florida. That is game number 1. Texas A&M at South Carolina. Now, y'all know where my allegiance lies here, generally speaking. But this is a little bit trickier. If A&M loses this game and to Texas, that gives you a real shot as a one-loss team to make the SEC championship game once again. But if A&M wins this game and beats Texas, that gives Texas a second loss, and that puts them on par with LSU. And you realize that Texas's best win might be at Vanderbilt, at Michigan. Like, what's Texas's best win? So you might get a leg up on Texas if A&M beats them. Both of these scenarios, when I'm talking about Texas A&M and South Carolina, hinge on the result of Texas A&M and Texas, and I don't know that yet. That's the problem here. So basically, what I think the best scenario for LSU is here is my assumption is that Texas A&M is not going to beat Texas in College Station and then turn around and beat Georgia in Atlanta. I don't think they're going to do both of those. That would get them the automatic bid. So I think you got to try to pin a loss on them here and hope that Texas beats them. And that gives them 3 losses. That moves them behind you. So in A&M and South Carolina, although I can come up with a scenario where you want A&M to win that game, in this scenario, I want South Carolina to win that game, pulling for the Gamecocks. Ole Miss and Arkansas. This one's a little bit of a different view. I think Georgia's going to beat Ole Miss next week. I think Georgia's the best team in the country. I don't know if they're going to lose again. So I think they're going to beat Ole Miss. I want, for strength of schedule purposes, LSU's Ole Miss win to look as strong as it can look. That means they need to beat Arkansas. I realize if Ole Miss beats Arkansas and then beats Georgia, and they're a 2-loss team, you might be swimming in the same water with them. The head-to-head stands up. I get it, but you never know. You're not going to go head-to-head on everything. I just think the most realistic thing is for Ole Miss to lose to Georgia. That gives them their 3rd loss. They're out. And I want that win to still look decent. So give me Ole Miss to beat Arkansas. That's who I'm pulling for in that one. Kentucky at Tennessee. This is easy. You want Kentucky to beat Tennessee. Tennessee right now, I think, is going to lose their second game when they play Georgia. But they don't have a ton else on the schedule. They've got Mississippi State, UTEP, Vanderbilt, and Kentucky. That's not Murderer's Row. I'm trying to knock them behind LSU. Now, they may already be behind LSU because Tennessee's strength of schedule is not super strong. It's 32nd. LSU's is 8th. Tennessee does have the win against Bama. You would counteract that with your win against Bama, both of them at home. I want Kentucky to win this game. I'm not super hopeful, but you definitely need Georgia to take care of Tennessee here coming up. So pull for Kentucky. I think it's probably pretty futile in Knoxville. That's it for the SEC. Now we go to the Big Ten, Ohio State and Penn State. I'll be honest with y'all, and we've talked about this on Tuesdays. I think Penn State is going to make the playoff because they've got to win at USC, they've got to win at Wisconsin, and no one left on their remaining schedule is ranked after Ohio State. I don't think they're going to lose 3 games. So the best case here is that maybe Ohio State loses this game at Penn State, and I realize their 2 losses would be very good. At Oregon and at Penn State, those are tough losses. But what's your win? Your win at that point would be Indiana, and maybe Ohio State loses to Penn State and Indiana, and they're out. But I think you've got a better chance of knocking Ohio State out of the playoffs than you do Penn State based on schedule. Ohio State's at Penn State, already has a loss, and plays Indiana. There's a lot that can go on there, not to mention the Michigan game, which I don't think is going to matter, but it's still there. Penn State's got almost nothing left. Minnesota, Purdue, that's not a lot. I think LSU fans need Penn State to play big in a big game against Ohio State to try to get the Buckeyes out of the playoffs. That's my thought there. Speaking of Indiana, they're at Michigan State. Very easy here. You need Indiana to lose. What we talked about yesterday for the whole segment of the college football playoff, these teams outside the SEC are not stubbing their toe. LSU did with USC. Alabama did with Vanderbilt. Tennessee did with Arkansas. These are kind of losses you wouldn't have forecast against lesser teams. The other teams around the country really aren't doing that, and Indiana's not doing that. They're blowing everybody out, and they're not playing a great schedule, but they're not losing. Maybe this is the time you pull for them to beat Michigan State. You beat Michigan State to beat Indiana. You're trying to knock the Hoosiers out of an at-large situation. Pittsburgh at SMU. This does matter. No Tony Dorsett or Dan Marino, no Eric Dickerson, but this game does matter to LSU. Pitt's undefeated and SMU is 7-1. Here's my thought here. I think LSU fans want SMU to take that second loss. That moves SMU completely out of the picture. Then it's up to the rest of Pitt's schedule to give them 2 losses. Because if you can get Pitt 2 losses, they're done too. And Pitt has Clemson coming up. They've got road trips to Louisville and Boston College who are decent, certainly in Pitt's perspective. So I think what you do here is you have Pittsburgh eliminate SMU, and then you hope Clemson and BC and Louisville can deal with Pitt. That's what I think. So I pull for Pitt at SMU on Saturday. And then the Big 12, I don't know if it necessarily matters because I think the Big 12 is a one-bid league, but there are 2 games that you'd like to just pin some losses on the top half of that league. That's Iowa State. They play Texas Tech. They're undefeated. Go for Texas Tech. And then you got Kansas State going to Houston. You want Houston to win that game. Simple enough. I'll run through it again. In the SEC, you want Florida to beat Georgia unless it can be a blowout the other way. You want South Carolina to beat Texas A&M. You want Ole Miss to beat Arkansas, which is a little counterintuitive, but I think my logic stood tall. You want Kentucky to beat Tennessee. You want Penn State, who's undefeated, to beat Ohio State, who has 1 loss, trying to get Ohio State out of there. You want Michigan State over Indiana. You want Pittsburgh to win at SMU, and that still would keep them undefeated. Keep in mind, that's the second time we've called for that. And then the Big 12, you want Iowa State and Kansas State to take losses against lesser teams. We'll see if that happens. I'm thinking eventually at some point in November when things get crazy that these teams are going to start losing a game or 2 here or there. For some reason, it has not happened, the majority of it. But we got the crunch time games to play, and that's what I think LSU fans should be watching for. If you're just jumping in late and want to hear that once again, or maybe read it, you can read it at LouisianaSports.net. Coming up in about an hour when I post it up on the front page of the website there, an LSU Fans Guide to the bye week. Feel free to watch as much football or as little football as you'd like to watch. But that's the roadmap for LSU this Saturday as they kick their feet up and watch. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. When we come back, we'll switch gears to the New Orleans Saints. Luke Johnson covers the Saints, who got their quarterback at practice yesterday. What does that mean moving forward this week? That's it with Luke. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. EvolvePT.com. If you're dealing with pain, deal with the folks at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports. You walk into the facility, it's state-of-the-art. They've got unbelievable equipment. And what's even better than that, in my opinion, is the staff that Robbie Bolton has assembled there. They're hands-on, they're educated, knowledgeable, and they've got all the technology at their disposal to make sure that you can get back to being your active self. Whether it's dry needling, cupping, isokinetic testing, they can do scraping as well. And no matter your age, if it's a youth athlete in your home that's been injured playing sports and wants to get back at it, maybe you're middle-aged and trying to get back on the golf course, but you can't because you got that hip pain, knee pain, back pain. Maybe you injured playing sports. Maybe it's been a car accident. Maybe you just slept wrong or don't really know why the pain's there, but you want to get rid of it and get back to being your active self. Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports is the first stop you need to make. You can check them out online at evolvept.com or go see them on Starring near Highland Road. It's Robbie Bolton and his team at Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's, official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Stocking up to watch football this weekend. Stocking up late for the kids coming over for Halloween. Rouse has got your candy covered as well. Watching the Saints on Sunday, Rouse's can help you out with that too. Luke Johnson covers the New Orleans Saints for The Advocate. Joins us every single Thursday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, how we doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Derek Carr back at practice yesterday. What does that mean for the Saints?
Well, I think it means he's on track to play, and I think that's a really good thing for the Saints. Look, I still think there's reason to be optimistic about what Spencer Rattler, Jake Haener can be as their career progresses, but like this was a bad situation they were dropped into, and they kind of played like it. I was just looking up the numbers this morning. I mean, the Saints scored 15 points per game in the 3 games without Derek Carr. If you like the advanced stats, I think the two of them combined for like negative 51 expected points added, which is really bad. Derek Carr, I think in 5 games is like plus 14 this year. So I mean that's a huge difference. And yeah, I think getting Carr back in the lineup, even if you're still without Eric McCoy and you're without Rashid Shaheed, I think can only be good news for this offense and for this team.
You got a lot of the offensive line back. Still not really running the ball great last week. Do you think that Carr helps that?
I think he does to a degree. I think it'll really help facing this this Panthers defense, which I think is dead last in the NFL against the run. They're even worse than the Saints somehow. So I mean, I would expect the run game to look a little bit better this week. I think even last week it looked better. Alvin Kamara broke 2 20-plus yard runs. Those are the first 20-plus yard runs he's had since the 2022 season. And I think that getting Carr back in the lineup will just kind of allow them to be a little bit less of a one-dimensional offense, and have a legitimate passing threat back there, and will allow them to open up some things. I mean, look, you could go in there and they could absolutely struggle because they're a 2-6 football team. But I do think that just his addition to the lineup opens up a lot of stuff that they want to do.
Who's catching passes outside of Olave and a skeleton cap?
Good question. I really thought Marquez Valdes-Scantling would be active last week. It was really a surprise to me that he wasn't, even though he'd only been with the team a couple of days. Their receiver core is really limited. I still think that there's more there with Juwan Johnson. It's still maybe he just is what he is at this point. But when he's gotten the ball thrown his way, more times than not, good things have happened. I think there's still an opportunity for this passing attack to be a little bit above average, a little bit above league average, especially if they are getting the running game going with Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara. But they don't have anybody that scares you outside of Olave, and it's going to really hurt them when they face better defenses than the one they're going to face this weekend. When you look back at the game against the Chargers, the points didn't get away from the defense. Speaking in just purely points, you gave up 26, which is not the end of the world, but the Chargers were one of the worst point-scoring offenses in the NFL. Was that still a bad defensive effort, even when you factor in the fact that the offense was never going to do anything? No, I thought they're pretty solid for a half.
Yeah.
And I think that the struggles of the offense have kind of leaked into the defense a little bit. But I did think it was a lot better than what they'd shown the couple of weeks preceding that. I think a vast majority of the Chargers' offensive yardage came on 3 plays, which is just that's part of that is just that's something the Saints have consistently struggled with, is giving up the explosives. One of those, a 60-yard touchdown to McConkey, that was pretty good coverage by Alontae Taylor. Those plays are going to happen. But then there was a 40-yard pass to Josh Palmer where Kool-Aid McKinstry was playing the wrong coverage, and there was another 25-yard pass to, I think it was Jalen Reagor, where a guy just made a spectacular play down the sideline. And those 3 plays led pretty much directly to, I think it was 17 points. And then you can count the Justin Herbert 40-yard scramble. That's 170 yards on 4 plays. That's been the thing to me. It was encouraging to see them play better run defense. It was encouraging to see them tackle better. But if they're going to continue giving up the explosives, and all that kind of goes for naught. So that's the next thing they kind of need to dial back on.
This is an obvious question, but I'll ask it anyway because you're there and I'm not. What's the energy around the team with the players in Dennis Allen press conferences? What's it like? They've lost 6 in a row.
Well, they're trying their best to put on a happy face about it. But it's I think, pretty obviously masking what has been an incredibly disappointing season, especially after that 2-0 start. Some of it is just the injury stuff is legitimately just kind of sapped some of the energy out of the team because they don't have the guys. Just today, they had 1 active starting corner on their roster in practice. So it's really hard to believe that you're going to be good when you're missing a lot of guys, and then it's even harder when you're just losing a bunch of games. That's just human nature. You go out there and you do all the things that you think you're supposed to do, and you're practicing well, and there's energy in practice, yada yada yada. But if you go out there and you're losing 4 straight games by double-digit points, I don't see how you can legitimately say, yeah, we're doing okay, we're going to get it figured out. They've got to start having results because even if they're just putting this this nice kind of veneer on it, you can kind of see the turbulence under the surface there.
What if they don't win on Sunday?
Look, I've been thinking a lot about that, man. The Panthers are truly the NFL's worst football team. And I have a really, really hard time seeing a scenario where they can just keep this going. If they lose to Carolina, even though it's on the road, it's a division opponent, blah, 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 blah. I mean, just take one look at like the NFL statistical rankings. Like they're like dead last in just about everything. Offense, defense, doesn't matter. And they're missing like half their roster. Like they might actually be more injured than the Saints are. And look, if they were to find a way to lose that game, I just don't know how you could justify keeping things the way that they are. Like they clearly need to make major changes because at that point, I mean, the season's lost. You're 2-7. You've lost 7 straight. There's no amount of players you're going to get back from injury that's going to make that matter.
As best you can tell, do you expect to see Derek Carr a full go on Sunday, or do you think that he's still feeling a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I think that he'll be good enough to play. I don't know if like 100% is really necessarily accurate, but I still think that him at let's call it 85-90% is better than what they've been putting out there the last couple of weeks. So he said yesterday that he feels fine. He feels great. We kind of heard that from him last year a little bit when he really struggled in those games after the injuries. So I mean, I'm just not anticipating he's going to go out there and light the world on fire. I think he's still probably dealing with this a little bit, but they're in kind of a crisis point right now, and they need a little bit of something because they haven't gotten really anything out of the quarterback position in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's correct. You think they win on Sunday?
I do. I thought they'd win last week, and I felt like an idiot after about 10 minutes of gameplay. So, but I just I know the Saints are 2-6. I know it's been just really awful, but the Panthers are. I mean, they are an absolute mess. I was looking this up today. They haven't had a winning season since before I started covering the NFL. 2017 was the last time they had a winning season. Like they are really, really down in the dumps right now. If the Saints lose this game, I mean, I like I said, I think there's got to be changes if that happens.
Man, that would set up a home game with Atlanta, and that just would not be a very comfortable Superdome to be in. It may not be anyway, based on even if they win against Carolina, but if you lose to Carolina, that is going to be an ugly Superdome in a week's time. So we'll see. Enjoy Charlotte, and we'll talk next week. Thanks, Luke.
Sounds good, man. Thanks.
You bet. Luke Johnson covers the Saints. Follow him on Twitter at @ByLukeJohnson. I was looking at just looking purely at the Saints' schedule earlier today, and I went, okay, they beat the Panthers by 37. And then they beat the Cowboys by 25. And then they played the Eagles at home, and they lost by a field goal. And then they went to Atlanta, and they had a lead late, and they lost at the gun on a 50-something yarder. And then they went to the Chiefs on Monday Night Football, and although the Chiefs outgained the hell out of them, they were in that game in the third quarter. And that's the best team, well, the winningest team in the NFL. And that was your first 5 weeks. And then since then, there's been a bye, and there's been, a mini bye. They lost to Tampa by $1 billion. They lost to the Broncos by $1 billion. They lost to the Chargers by $1 billion, all with a backup quarterback. It's such an interesting thing. And you could try to frame it one way or another, but ultimately you're going to come back to the same conclusion that, it's just not good enough. Too many injuries. Tough breaks and losing games at the gun, pin that back on coaching, salary. There's too much bad for me to try to shoehorn the good back into it based on what could have happened the first 5 weeks of the season. And you could make the case that the Panthers are the best team they could play this week or the worst team they could play this week. And I'll do that in the second hour. But anyway you slice it, they've lost 6 in a row. We'll see if they can straighten things up on Sunday in Charlotte. All right, when we come back, Jay Johnson, LSU head baseball coach, going to join us on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check out the entire line of vehicles at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Most of you driving around listening to me right now are not in a Genesis. It's because Genesis is new to the market, relatively speaking. They've only been at Airline and Piku for a little over a year and a half. If you're looking to get into a new vehicle and you're thinking about a luxury vehicle, you kind of think of the brands that may come to mind. Genesis should come to mind right there with them, because everything on that lot stacks up with all the luxury cars that you're thinking about. I actually was talking to someone this weekend who owns multiple car dealerships, and he's got an option to drive anything on his lots. He exclusively drives Genesis. It's an incredible line of vehicles. Safe, sleek, stylish, comfortable, all of it. Also reasonably priced. Check out the line of vehicles at GenesisBatonRouge.com. Go see him Airline and Piku and just test drive one and see for yourself how fantastic this line of vehicles truly is. Genesis of Baton Rouge. Check them out online, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Join us at Pro Dreams in Mandeville for our special event, A Day of Champions. Meet LSU National Championship winning head coaches Jay Johnson, Skip Burtman, and Paul Maneri. Don't miss your chance to purchase authentic sports memorabilia, autographed by the champions themselves. It's the perfect opportunity to celebrate LSU baseball and take home a piece of history. Visit pro-dreams.com to get your tickets. See you there.
It's an everyday thing here. We work horses in the mornings and we work on the property during the day, and without these John Deere tractors, it'd almost be impossible to keep up with the place. I've dealt with some of the other colors and stuff, and I never really got the response back that I get from John Deere, We really enjoy dealing with Sunshine. They're good people. They always check on us and make sure our equipment's running, and we love them. Flip the switch and learn more about what it means to be powered by Sunshine at sunequip.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
The best kept.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
LSU face fall baseball in full swing. Inter-squad scrimmage coming up 3:30 on Friday at the Box, and then the team will pack up and head to Biloxi, Mississippi, and they will play Samford for, I think, 21 innings at 11 o'clock Central at Keesler Federal Park over in Biloxi. Jay Johnson, head coach of the Fighting Tiger baseball squad, good enough to give us a little bit of time here on this Thursday. Coach, thanks for the time. How are you?
Doing great, Hunt. How you doing?
Doing quite well. Just want to get kind of an update on how things are moving. I got a couple things to check through. The first one on my list is catcher. Obviously, we talked before fall ball started, and you said that you were looking for defense from those guys, and you figured that they'd hit a little bit. What have you seen from your catchers thus far in fall?
Yeah, I think it's been good. I like the group as a whole. I think Luis Hernandez, transfer from Indiana State, has done a good job on both sides of the ball. Been very reliable, receiving and throwing. Offensively, takes really good at bats, and he obviously has power with the 23 homers he hit last year. But seems to be kind of maybe the most seasoned, experienced on both sides of the ball. Kate Aaron Beatty, another freshman, doing a really good job offensively, really good job throwing, has plenty of talent, just kind of learning, this level of baseball, some of the nuances. And Blaze Priester, off to a really good start. I think he has 4 or 5 homers already, throws the ball extremely well, kind of along the lines that I just talked about with Cade, just shoring up some of the finer points. But those 3 guys, doing a really good job so far.
Jake Brown in the outfield last year kind of emerged as an offensive player for you, and I kind of thought he was going to be a pitcher when he got to campus. And he's obviously been playing some outfield as well this fall. I saw a really good bat when I was out there on Sunday, hit the ball the opposite way. What have you seen from him offensively in his second fall?
Yeah, he's doing a great job. He's a terrific athlete. He's added a lot of strength. Like, he looks different in a uniform now than he did last year as a freshman, and that's showing, I think, with some confidence in his game. I think the at-bats, he got about 100 at-bats last year, have served him well. And you combine that athleticism, increased strength, experience, the makings of a really, really good player. And has certainly kind of jumped to the top or front of this thing as we've started fall baseball.
Is he going to still look at pitching a little bit?
Yeah, we are. We're trying to just manage that load correctly. What we do have is a little more unique than maybe some of the staffs previously. We feel like we have some right-handed pitching weapons that are going to be very successful against left-handed hitters. And so we don't have to be as, traditional matchup maybe as we've been. But we feel like we have a good template for what he needs to do as a pitcher. It's just a big load that we're probably asking for from him as a position player. And the most important thing is keeping him healthy and available. So we're just kind of paying attention to that.
You told me before fall started that Chase Shores would have no limitations. He'd pitch all the way through the fall, and you were really excited about him. Now that we're a couple of weeks in, what have you seen from Chase Shores?
Yeah, arm strength's great. I was up to 98 the other day, I believe, in his second inning of work. Slider's been good. This last weekend was the first time we'd kind of pushed him towards a third inning, and I think he was good up until the end, got a little bit tired, but we're full go. He'll start us off in Biloxi on Sunday, and really excited about that.
Connor Ware is another guy that I saw on Sunday, left-handed pitcher from junior college. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, very excited about Connor. I'll be very transparent. He had some injury issues last year in junior college, and I think had he been healthy through the full season, we might have had a hard time, getting him through the Major League draft and getting him here. But he's healthy now, and as you saw Sunday, it's been 3 Sundays that have been very good. I think I could actually say that was probably his least clean outing of the 3, and I don't think he gave up any runs. So been a real bright spot and somebody we're going to lean into and lean on in this pitching staff.
This goes for every sport. When there's a highly heralded recruit, everybody wants to hear about him. Obviously, William Schmidt falls into that category. His first fall, how's his adjustment been?
I think it's been great. I think he's grown up. He's paying attention to detail the way that we want him to. He's had great background, coming from Catholic. Coach Bass, Coach Naquin did a great job with him in high school. So on the field, he's more prepared than your average freshman, and the talent is exceptional. I think, he's had a good run of 3 scrimmages here where it's been really competitive, and obviously given the profile, potential first-round pick here in this past draft, I think some of the hitters' eyes kind of perk up when he gets out there and they're competing and challenging well against him, and he's competing right back. And, very excited and feel very fortunate that we've got William here for 3 years.
Chatting with Jay Johnson, LSU head baseball coach. Tigers will scrimmage against Samford in Biloxi coming up on Sunday at 11 a.m. Central, one of the 2 scrimmages you're allowed in fall baseball. Shortstop, obviously you've got a guy coming back in Michael Braswell who had a great year for you last year, finished incredibly strong, especially in the postseason, but I know there are a number of guys that you want to get a look at across the infield. What have you seen from shortstop thus far?
Yeah, I think you said it. I think probably the most positive thing about it is, we have some depth there. I'm very pleased with what Michael did for us, particularly the last half of the season last year, both offensively and defensively. So he's certainly, viable option at any one of those three infield spots. Daniel Dickinson, very excited about him. Very unique player in terms of speed, solid hitting skills. Has done a really good job defensively there as well. Different kind of player than Michael, but again, one that can play all three spots. But we're giving him every opportunity at shortstop. And then a couple of young guys are very much ahead of the game, specifically defensively. Mikey Ryan has some really good skills defensively, and he's got plenty of talent to hit. They're just kind of going through that natural adjustment to transitioning from, we'll just say, high school baseball in Louisiana to high-level Division I baseball. And then David Hogg from the Dallas area, a really good athlete, can really play all of those spots. So, and even if we had to throw Stephen Milam over there, I'm comfortable with him. He played a couple games over there. So have some quality depth at short, and just excited to keep getting all those guys better.
I know Steven kind of had his ups and downs last fall, and it kind of emerged and really blossomed late for you guys at second base. How have you seen him progress in his second fall now?
Yeah, he's stronger. He had a foot injury at the end of last season that he played through, in the SEC tournament and the regional, and played very well in both of those. And then, tried to give it a go with the Team USA, and foot just wasn't quite right. So we spent the summer doing two things: getting that healthy, and then getting stronger, much like I just talked about with Jake Brown. And, he looks better on the field. And obviously, the game competitiveness is a great quality of his. And obviously, plan on him being a super impactful player for our team.
Sunday, let everybody know kind of what the format is and what you're trying to get out of that scrimmage with Samford.
Yeah, so we're playing 21 innings. You have the head coach of LSU to blame for that because he wants to stay on the field all day. So excited about that. We'll break it up into like 3 7-inning segments. We'll get a few pitchers out there for 3 innings, a bunch of them out there for 2. And we'll probably split the day, honestly, right down the middle. We have 22 position players, I believe. And, one group will play 10 innings, one group will play 11 innings, get everybody a bunch of at-bats and looks, and kind of see where we go from here, from development and those types of things. So really, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to having, all these players in the same dugout and, try to, form our identity and form our pathway to winning. And very pleased through 3 weeks. We obviously have a really tough schedule. We play all the best opponents within our league in the entire country. But I think we're off to a really good start right now.
Safe travels over to Biloxi, Coach. Thanks for some time today.
All right. Thanks, Hunt. You got it. See you.
Jay Johnson, LSU head baseball coach, with plenty to chew on there. And I will. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, and I'll react to some of that. Plus, we got best win, worst loss in the college football and the NFL coming up this weekend. It's a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LSU's off this weekend, so you don't have to go tailgate. You don't have to go inside Tiger Stadium. You don't have to lock in on one game for 4 hours. You can watch them all. And what better place to watch them than LeBear's Baton Rouge? It's your game day headquarters all season long. They got the biggest screens, and now you can bet and dine at ESPN Bet, the sportsbook, in person. And by bet, I mean you can bet on the games. You can also play blackjack because it's right there in the sportsbook. It's a fantastic place to hang out, watch, and wager. And plus, I'm telling you all year long to sign up for the SEC's Cover 5 contest. Download the Cover 5 app. Enter that promo code LABRSEC24. Compete against me and tons of our listeners each and every week to win weekly prizes. If you're not a member, you can get the Pen Play app today, then get the Cover 5 app, pick 5 SEC games, and see how things stack up. LeBear's Baton Rouge, your live sports headquarters. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966 for help.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
All right, wrapping up hour #1 here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Of course, our Thursday show is always brought to you by Rouse's. Rouse's is the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Got Saints and Panthers coming up on Sunday. If you're getting a crew together to watch the game, no better place to go to get your stock up on your supplies than Rouse's. Always a location near you, anywhere in South Louisiana, all the way over to Gulf Shores, Alabama. Rouse's, this feels like home. I had Jay Johnson on there, and a couple things that I was interested in there. I saw Chase Shores pitch on Sunday. I thought his velocity was good. I thought he threw more sliders than I certainly saw him throw as a freshman reliever, and that's certainly something he's got to work on. He's got to become a really good slider pitcher if he's going to be the front line of the rotation guy. 96, 98's fine. That's going to be just fine. But you're going to have to locate that, and you're going to have to throw your slider when you need to. He got some swings and misses, and as Jay mentioned there, he got hit a little bit at the end of that outing in his third inning, but he's building back up. He's not done that in a very long time. So I think everything according to plan there with Chase Shores. Offensively, LSU's catchers have been great thus far. Blaze Priester's hit 4 home runs. He's seen some good things offensively from Cade Arambidi as well. Luis Hernandez is a proven college hitter who's getting into catching. He's done that in his past, but didn't do very much of it at Indiana State. So those 3 guys I'm looking at to continue to improve. Defensively, I don't think you're great at catcher right now, but we'll see how those guys look. Jake Brown is the interesting piece to this whole conversation that I just had with Coach Johnson. I'm hoping, and I always use this example because I think it's relevant, Andrew Stevenson could not hit when he got here to LSU. Couldn't hit. And that's because he hadn't spent a ton of time devoted to baseball and hitting. But when he got to LSU, he was already ready to go play center field. And so they put him out there in center field on that 2013 team, and he hit 180, and he ran everything down in center field. And then he went off to the Cape, and he hit. And then he came back for a fall and he hit. And then for 2 years at LSU, he hit 350 because he was a great athlete who had never devoted this much time to baseball and to hitting. He had spent a lot of time on the football field and playing defense and just being a great athlete. And now he was working on actually hitting 94-mile-an-hour fastballs. And Jake Brown has played baseball his entire life, obviously, but he's spent a lot of time pitching. And I think they're lessening that pitching load and they're working more on hitting. And now that natural athletic ability can start to take over and you can become a much better hitter than you were because you're taking all of that athletic talent and focusing it on one thing. And he's hitting the ball really well here in the fall. I mean, I saw him sink down into his knees and drive the ball the other way into left field on a really nice swing on Sunday. And I'm hopeful that he's really figuring some things out. It's competitive out there in the outfield. No doubt. It's competitive. You got Ashton Larson out there. You got Chris Stanfield, who started at Auburn in center field out there. Josh Pearson is playing. Derek Curiel has shown up here. Like, you've got some guys who can compete for time in the outfield, and you're going to have to win that job. And Jake Brown is doing a pretty good job of that. And then you talk about shortstop. I don't know that you can automatically hand that job to Michael Braswell. I think he's a great option, and I'm okay with him at shortstop. But you're going to have Daniel Dickinson competing. You're going to have Stephen Milam competing for that spot that could open second base up. Maybe you switch he and Braswell. Maybe you don't. But Mikey Ryan is making a push. And it's early. It's 3 weeks in. But that's a guy I heard a ton about before the draft. As a guy they thought they might lose to the draft. And they're really excited to have him. So there are some options in the infield, and they're going to explore all of those at this point moving forward in fall ball. So not to spend a ton of time on it, but I think 15 minutes on a bye week, okay to dip into a little bit of baseball. Transition over to football. Always on Thursdays we do best win and worst loss on the board for college football and the NFL. I think the best win in college football, just based on the history of the program, the stakes that are there this weekend, if Penn State can win a home game against Ohio State, I think that's the best win on the board in college football. As far as worst loss goes, that's Tennessee to me at home against Kentucky. If your two losses are Arkansas and Kentucky, you're in big trouble when we start comparing two-loss teams, especially in the Southeastern Conference. So Tennessee's got to take care of its business. You got Georgia coming up. You got to deal with them. But beyond that, it's like Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, UTEP. Like, you shouldn't have a lot of trouble. You just need to jump over this little hurdle. It's a home game in Knoxville. Kentucky can't score. You should be fine, but don't stub your toe there like some SEC teams have done. So I think the worst loss on the college football board is Tennessee. Best win in the NFL, all of a sudden the Broncos are playing better. I wouldn't suggest their offense is great, and they have beat up on some lesser opponents. Yeah, beating the Saints with no quarterback is not incredible. Yeah, you can blow out the Panthers. That's fine. But you are what your record says you are, and they've got 5 wins. They can go play the Ravens at home at Baltimore and win that game. Well, you're tied with the Ravens, who everybody thinks is a really good team in the AFC. Their record's not as good as Kansas City's, and they may not be as flashy as the Bills, but they're good. And if if the Broncos go to Baltimore and win, I think that's best win on the board in the NFL. Worst loss, I consider the Saints here, but let's be real, I don't think it is the Saints. We'll talk about that in the second hour about what this could mean. But to me, worst loss on the NFL board is the Eagles at home against Jacksonville. Washington is better than we thought. Now, Dallas is worse than we thought, but the Eagles are trying to keep pace with Washington at this point. And Jacksonville is bad. And you're at home. So the Eagles really took it to the Bengals last week. Heck of an effort. You got to beat the Jags in Philly. So I think the best win in college football based on history and stakes. If Penn State wins this game against Ohio State, I think they're in the playoff. That, to me, is the best win on the board in college football. Tennessee, trying to avoid that second loss against Kentucky, can't do that. Best win in the NFL, Broncos at the Ravens. Worst loss, Eagles at home against Jacksonville. Beck, I went through that entire exercise and did not mention the Bengals or the Commanders.
You didn't, and I don't.
Or the Saints.
Yeah, and I don't think you needed to. I mean, the
Saints losing is not a good loss.
Yeah, no, it's not. The Commanders losing in New York wouldn't be great, but also, it's an away game. The Giants are not great, but you should win that game. I don't know if I'd say it's the worst loss.
The Commanders already have some house money built up.
Yeah, they have.
They're way better than anybody thought. I bet their season over-under was probably around 5.5.
Probably.
They've got 6. I mean, I don't know that. I'm just guessing.
Maybe 6 or 7, but probably
they
6.
were terrible.
Yeah,
they have a rookie
probably
quarterback.
5 or 6, honestly.
And so you're pretty much already there. Now, I realize that a lot of people in our nation's capital have probably flipped the switch to
now they're like,
we
okay,
need
we
home
gotta
field
make the
advantage.
playoffs.
Let's go. But they're already in a pretty good spot.
Yeah.
The Eagles are supposed to be good.
Yes.
And now everybody's cranky because Sirianni's being a jerk and he's yelling at fans and
bringing
they're not
his
winning
kids
the way
to
they
the
are.
post-game
we're doing
press
that.
conference.
So I just don't lose to the Jags in Philly.
No,
That's
don't do
not
that.
going to make the Philly fans super happy. I know we're in the holiday season. They're supposed to be in good spirits. They're not. They're not going to be in good spirits at all.
Yeah, I will say Bengals at home against the Raiders, man. If you don't win that one,
I've kind of given up.
You can give up, but look, if they get this one, they're at 4-5, and then they got to go to Baltimore, which is going to be tough. But then they get the Chargers away. That doesn't mean anything. And then they got the Steelers at home and the Cowboys. Like, look, they can get back to
You know what I looked up today? Because spoiler alert, our next segment I'm talking about the Panthers and how bad they are, and I looked up a lot of their statistics, and I was looking up Bryce Young's QBR. You know, Burrow leads the NFL in QBR.
Yeah, he's had a really good season.
That to me signifies just what this means when you have to pay the quarterback $1 billion when they weren't making any money. That has to signal that the rest of the roster is just not as good as it was when he got there.
Yeah, he's got 15 touchdowns against 3 picks.
Yeah.
And he's almost already thrown for 2,000 yards, and they've played,
my Bengals.
Played 8 games.
I'm such a diehard. It hurts. Look, I got my orange on today.
No,
it's definitely Bengals, not Halloween. Definitely Bengals shirt. But yeah,
it's tough.
That's best win, worst loss. If you missed any of the first hour, catch it on demand wherever you find your sound, or of course on YouTube. Lots to do in hour number 2. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, is going to be with us in 20 minutes. When we come back, is this a must-win for the Saints? I love that term. Is it? We'll talk about that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. He showed me a picture the other day of one of these jobs that they did where he took one of those small square standalone showers that's not more than 3 feet by 4 feet, and turned that into a closet. You go, well, I need a shower. Well, he turned the jacuzzi bath that no one ever used into a big walk-in shower. There's plenty of room there, and if you don't ever use it, well, better use that space. Totally transformed this bathroom. You can find the pictures of it on Instagram as well. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, go check it out. If you've got some things in your bathroom, whether it's a tub that you don't use or shower that you're not happy with, and you want to transform that, you can do it at OneBathAndClosets.com. They got financing options available. It starts with a free consultation with David and his team. It's One Bath and Closets. You can find them online at OneBathAndClosets.com.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. Happy Halloween and happy Week 9 in the NFL. Tonight, the 6-2 Texans meet the 2-6 Jets at the Meadowlands. The Jets have lost 5 straight, 4 of those by 1 score, and they're actually a 2.5-point favorite on ESPN Bet. The Dodgers will have their championship parade and a celebration at Dodger Stadium tomorrow. And ESPN's Carl Ravitch believes there could be more titles to come from this group.
There are core players there in Freddie, Mookie, and Shohei. They have more money coming in from Japan because of that guy that they will then be able to use to build this team up more.
Carl Ravitch on Baseball Tonight. Dodgers reliever Daniel Hudson announces his retirement. He pitched in 2 World Series games, taking a loss in Game 3. Hudson also won a title with the Nationals 5 years ago. The White Sox make it official today, hiring Will Venable as the team's new manager. He spent the last 2 years as associate manager of the Texas Rangers.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming up Friday. Dak and the Cowboys are sputtering. I'll tell you why the next 4 games will define Dak's legacy. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Halloween edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's. Chris Blair with us in 15 minutes. We'll talk Bryce Underwood in 30 minutes at the bottom of hour number 2. Wanted to pass this along. Shout out to our guy Brock Cantro, who sent me this. Baton Rouge Community College basketball season's fire up in the next couple of days. Lady Bears, they'll start things up Saturday at 5 o'clock at home against Northwest Mississippi Community College. And then on Monday, the BRCC Bears men's team will crank things up against West Academy, Georgia. That's at 11:30 in the morning on Monday. So if you're looking for an affordable way to go watch some basketball, you can do it over at Baton Rouge Community College. You can check out the website for games as the season moves forward. Thanks to Brock for passing that along. I told him I would let you guys know as well. Let's get things rolling here with the Saints. They play the Panthers on Sunday. You're well aware of that. One of the jokes that we generally tell and talk about on this show is the term must win, because it is overused. Everybody loves the term must win. And our guy Sharif Ishak on Tuesdays, I'll toss must win at him, and he'll toss it right back. He's like, Pelicans game in early March. I mean, yeah, must win. You got to win this game against the Spurs. Like, well, you probably don't. You probably don't. Like last night, the Yankees were in a must win, and they didn't. And now their season's over. The Saints on Sunday, it's a must win.
Oh my gosh, Hunt.
It's a must win.
Really?
It's not a must win for their playoff chances. It is a must win because you cannot recover from losing to this pile of garbage that is a franchise. The Cardinals. The Panthers. Like, you cannot lose this game and come back from this from a staff. If they lose this game on Sunday, there are going to have to be sweeping changes made in the organization. Because it's not just a signal that you weren't good enough for 3 hours. It's a signal that you weren't good enough to face off against the worst franchise in the sport. Let me give you some numbers on the Carolina Panthers right now. Last year, they were 2-15. This year, they're 1-7. That is 3-22, and they've got Andy Dalton to thank for a third of that. They have had 5 head coaches in the last 3 seasons. Bryce Young as a starter is 2-17. He's thrown 13 touchdowns and 15 interceptions in his career. Last year, he was sacked 62 times to lead the NFL. This year, his QBR is 19.3. That is the worst in football. He has completed 60% of his throws for 2 touchdowns and 5 picks. He is absolutely, totally, and completely lost. He is inept as an NFL quarterback. You can blame him. You can blame the franchise. You can blame all the head coaches he's had. You can blame offensive coordinators. You can blame the fan base. You can blame the ownership. I don't care. The results are the results. They're awful every single week. And it's not just Bryce Young. Trust me. On offense, their last 4 games, 10 points at Chicago, 20 points against the Falcons, 7 points against Washington, 14 points at Denver. That is 12.7 points per game. And that is bad. It's very, very bad. 12.7 is bad. It's even worse when you pair it with this defense, which right now is giving up 34 points per game. They're allowing 34 and scoring 12.5. They're giving up more points per game, 5.6 more than second to last in the NFL. That's almost a touchdown. That's nearly 6 points. They are almost a touchdown worse on defense than the second worst in the league. They've given up the most rushing touchdowns and the most receiving touchdowns. That's impressive. Sometimes you can't stop the run, you give up a lot of run touchdowns. Sometimes you can't stop the pass, you give up a lot of passing touchdowns. They're the worst at both. Back to the offense. They're 30th in the NFL in third down conversions. They've only been in the red zone 19 times in 8 games. That's a little over 2 times per game they get into the red zone. Not to mention, their injury report looks worse than the Saints every week. This is a completely inept NFL franchise. And I know Derek Carr's a little bit gimpy. And I know that Marshawn Lattimore didn't practice today. And I know that Kool-Aid McKinstry didn't practice today. And I know that Eric McCoy's not going to play. And Rashid Shaheed is out for the year. And Paulson Adebo is out for the year. I got all that. I don't care. There is absolutely no excuse to go to Carolina and lose. And if you do, and you just keep the status quo, and you maintain Mickey Loomis's ridiculous quote that suggested, well, good franchises look beyond the outcome. This outcome, you cannot look beyond. No one can lose to the Panthers, not even the Saints. It is absolutely a must-win. You cannot recover from going to Charlotte, facing off against this dumpster fire, and losing. Absolutely not. I have been patient with the Saints, if critical, patient. And I just told you in the segment 3, about 25 minutes ago, like, you look at what they did to start the season, and then you look at a couple of really tight losses at the gun, and then you look at them playing the Chiefs fairly close, and then Carr goes out and you couldn't recover because of injuries. There's no excuse this week. No excuse. No amount of penalties, turnover, like nothing you could do would mask the stench from losing to the Panthers. And if you do that, you've got to make changes. They're in a bad spot overall. I get it. Like, it's going to be difficult to dig yourself totally and completely out of it. But this game, I could argue, is the worst opponent you could have this week. Like, if you go out there with this team and you play Cleveland, they're bad. They're not this bad. You go out there this week and you play Atlanta, who's just better than you right now, and you lose. Well, that sucks, but I get it. This is What's the worst? What's the opposite of the gold standard?
I don't think there is one, but
I was looking for a color that would just absolutely simplify the fact that you're just a disaster. Whatever it is, that's what Carolina is. And you just have to go there and win. I honestly don't even care if you win by a point, quite frankly. You win this thing 17-16, Carr's gimping around out there. You don't have any wide receivers. You're calling up guys from the practice squad to play secondary. Like, just make sure you get it by a point. But do not go up there on Sunday and lose this game.
You know what? When you first said it, and I thought you might, I was very against it, thinking, how could you possibly say that a team that's 2-6 has a must-win game? But I just kind of looked around, and Atlanta's 5-3. If they lose to the Cowboys this week, they go to New Orleans to play the Saints, who would be 3-6 as long as they don't lose to the Panthers. And then if they can manage to beat the Falcons at home, they're 4-6, and the Falcons are 5-5. They're one game off the Falcons. Like, it's
and you can do all that.
No, you can't. And I'm not going to sit here and say that we should try, that the Saints need to try to make the playoffs, and because the reality is they're going to. This team, they're not quitting. They're not going to quit because Dennis Allen's fighting for his job. Mickey Loomis might be fighting for his job. I don't know, but either way, they're going to try to win as many games as possible. And if that's the mindset they're going to have, then let's just go ahead and try to figure out what they can do.
I'm with you on all your points. None of them are wrong. None of them are wrong. I'm just sitting here saying you can't lose to the Panthers.
That's what I'm saying. I agree with you now.
This is one crystallization of the whole thing. If the Panthers beat the Saints, what is the Panthers' record?
They would be 2-7.
If the Panthers beat the Saints, what's the Saints' record?
2-7.
I rest my case. If you lose this game, not only have you lost to this absolute disaster of an organization that I just laid out on both sides of the football, you're also tied with them. That is absolutely unacceptable by any metric. You look beyond the results. You can't. You cannot do it. So to me, it's a must-win. And we'll break down, actually look at the actual game on tomorrow's show on a Friday and get ready for it. But I'm greasing the wheels here and going, okay, just so you know, like that's what's coming on Monday if you can't get this done.
Yeah.
And I'm also telling you that I'm okay with 17-16 Saints. Just whatever it takes. Just don't lose this game.
Yeah.
Truth be told, you ought to beat them 28-13.
Oh,
You
yeah,
should.
definitely.
I mean, I just told you they give up 34 a game and they score 13 a game. Like, that's what the Panthers do.
The chat's going crazy. They're like, are you kidding me? Spin the narrative. This is actually hilarious. Like, look, we've already said.
What narrative? There is no narrative
There's no
here.
narrative here. I said it in my point. I don't think the Saints should try to win as many games as they can. They should just probably lose the rest and try to get a good draft pick. But they're not going to do that.
No, they're not.
Like, we all know what the Saints are going to do. They're going to try to win every single game if they can because Dennis Allen's fighting for his job. Mickey Loomis doesn't want to look bad. And the Saints just aren't. That's not their mindset. They don't have the mindset of the Panthers. The Panthers, they don't care. They could care less. David Tepper's going to fire the coach again after this year.
Chicago White Sox.
Whatever. They don't care. The Saints do. They have too much pride. They're not going to go out there and put Spencer Rattler out there or Derek Carr when he's hurt and just try to lose as many games. They're going to try to win. So that's all there is to it.
You better win. Just what I'm saying. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. They're a certified Generac dealer. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide in Generac home standby generators sold. Every single Generac generator comes with a 7 to 10 year warranty from the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You start the process by getting one of their full-time employees to come out and assess your situation. Here's what we got. Here's square footage. Here's what we want powered in the event of an outage. And they get you in the Generac generator that you need. Everybody's got different needs. Some people want their whole home up and running. Some people just want the essentials. You determine what it is that you want, and then the folks at Boudreaux's Electrical get you what you need. And they're going to have someone come out and install it. They're going to do it majority underground with the highest quality in copper and tubing and wiring and make sure that it looks nice because we take pride in what our home looks like. You don't want a big, huge generator that just sticks out like a store thumb. You'd like it to be put in the right spot and neatly installed. And then you're going to have that 7 to 10 year warranty and the peace of mind of knowing that even in the event of an outage, I'm going to be powered up and ready to go. Some people work at home. Can't have the power going out at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in July because a thunderstorm rolled through. And we know the next hurricane season is always right around the corner. Give them a call, 985-397-1562 or 225-300-9389, or check them out online, boudreauxelectrical.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The best-kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a...
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Chugging right along here on a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's Markets. Rouse says this feels like home. Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, good enough to give us a little bit of time on Thursdays. Joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how we doing?
Doing good, doing good. Hard to believe a bye week almost over and just a little over a week away from getting back to it.
You know, it feels like we're almost at the end of football season. It always goes real fast. But I thought to myself earlier today, we still have half the conference schedule to go. Like, half is a lot. So there's still some substantial amount of football to be played here for LSU. Unfortunately, it didn't go the way the Tigers wanted to on Saturday night in Kyle Field. What'd you make of that atmosphere in College Station?
No, they certainly were fired up about it. I mean, you know, plenty of people there, one of their biggest crowds ever, and you know, it felt a lot like the Ole Miss game at Tiger Stadium, to be honest with you, Hunt. I mean, there were opportunities in the first half and even moments where the crowd was kind of taken out of it, and there was a chance really to probably send some people home early. And just, you know, missed on opportunities, drives stalled, field goals missed, field goals botched. And, you know, he let them hang around. And, you know, early there in the about 8 minutes to go in the third quarter, I mean, things turned on its head, and suddenly they were back into it. Suddenly, things just started to go from bad to worse. And, I think it looked a lot like how LSU was able to avoid the big deficit early against Ole Miss, and then, got their footing. And I think that's exactly what happened with Texas A&M.
Did you and Jake talk about on the broadcast that they just felt like it should have been more than 7 at halftime?
Oh, no question about it. I mean, we went into the press area there, and everybody was talking about, as long as Connor Wigman wants to throw on first down, we'll take it all day long. And obviously that would change after he struggled all night, and they switched it up with Marcel Reed. But yeah, I mean, that was the story, was that you felt like LSU was up bigger than 7 points, and bigger at times than just a 10-point lead, and that was kind of hard to swallow. But you were hoping they would stick with Wigman, the pressure would still continue, and they would put themselves behind the chains. But LSU's offense unfortunately gave Marcel Reed short fields to work with early, and I think it built his confidence early. It got the crowd back into it, and it suddenly snowballed into what we saw eventually the final score.
What was the biggest uh-oh moment for you? Was it the first pick? Was it the Reed touchdown that ensued? Was it the second pick? Like, what was the moment where you went, this is not looking good?
I think it was the second pick for me because, again, the left side of LSU's offensive line, I mean, basically, they were pressuring and forcing him out of the pocket. It wasn't as if the pocket was tight and he could step up. I mean, he was basically snapping. And some of those plays were designed, obviously, we've seen him do it successfully so many times, to be throwing on the sprint out to his right. But when he threw the second interception on a play that we had seen multiple times back to back, they basically said, I'm not even covering the receiver. I know where this football is going. And that's when I thought, we can't run the ball yet. We haven't been able to set the run at all. And they basically now are saying, we know what LSU is going to do. And that's frankly what happened.
So we've seen LSU face a number of running quarterbacks this year. It hasn't just been Marcel Reed. South Alabama's Gio Paez can run. Taylon Green can certainly run. Lenora Sellers certainly runs. And we'll see another one with Jalen Milroe next week. Reed had more success than any of those guys. Do you think that was just a one-night thing?
Yeah, I do. I mean, and I remember Jacob and Gordy having a conversation on the air about as soon as they made the switch, obviously he got the football at the 8-yard line. They made a big play, and he got the score. But after that, it almost seemed like LSU was so hell-bent on, getting to the quarterback, which they had done so well in the first half, pressuring Wigman, that it was almost like they were outrunning the play. It was almost like they were over-aggressive, knowing that he certainly, unlike, again, a lot of quarterbacks you see, I mean, he loves to pull the football. And, we were blasting the running back, but they didn't have the ball. And, there were times we ran right by Marcel Reed. And, a guy like that gets a couple of steps on you and gets a little bit of a crease, I mean, we saw what he can do. So it was almost as if it was hard for LSU's defense, not as if they hadn't prepared, and to your point, not as if they hadn't seen a running quarterback. It was almost as if they were so bent on, we have worked all week trying to pressure Wigman, that we just couldn't make that switch quick enough, that we're just running by them.
Chris Blair, voice of the Tigers, joins us here every Thursday here on the Hunt Palmer Show, a little after 2 o'clock. This Bama game, we'll talk about it in depth next week, but LSU and Bama have played a lot of games where they were undefeated or had one loss and in the top 5, and those took on a lot of importance. This one, they both have 2 losses, but it may take on as much importance because the loser probably has to leave town, and the winner is right there in the mix. Are you a fan of the 12-team playoff that kind of keeps more teams hanging around even after that second loss?
Yeah, I mean, I always have, and some of that's because I cut my teeth in the FCS, where miraculously, for a lot of years, they were able to have 16 teams in the playoff. I don't know how they did it. I don't know. I mean, it was amazing. So I was always a proponent for more than 4. And again, that's part of the reason is that, for years and years, I mean, even going back to the BCS days, I mean, you lost 2 games, and it was kind of like, all right, who's fired up for the rest of the 6 games? So, I mean, it does make it more attainable, and it creates that drama and creates this matchup that we'll see next week, which both teams, this is it. Whoever walks out of Tiger Stadium with a loss, they've got several more games to play for this season, but the playoff picture is gone. And, that just deflates the fan base, and no doubt it deflates players. It'll be interesting to see now with 12 teams on, what it's going to look like when teams are eliminated from possibility. How many guys are going to continue to play? I mean, we saw this in the playoff with 4 teams once we got to the last game or maybe bowl season once the team was out. Now imagine once a lot of teams know they're done after this and you have 5-6 weeks remaining in football, how many people are going to continue to play. So I'm a proponent of the 12-team playoff. And, again, it's going to make for a great matchup where both teams come in with everything on the line Saturday night. And as you pointed out, these two teams have faced each other, similar situations with all of this stuff, up in the air, and they'll do it again this season. And, it should make for a great atmosphere at Tiger Stadium. I certainly think it'll look a lot reminiscent of the night against Ole Miss, and hopefully, that'll be enough, along with the Tigers playing well and not hurting themselves and not dropping passes, and hopefully be able to establish some type of running game and have a successful night against Alabama.
We'll talk about that one a little bit more next week. You were courtside on Tuesday, LSU basketball with an exhibition against an overmatched Loyola team, but your first look at the guys in the uniforms under the lights. What'd you make of LSU's exhibition win?
Well, I like the way the backcourt played. I mean, I think, as Coach McMahon told us, there's a ton of experience with the transfers that come in. They started 5 on Tuesday night, and only one was a returning Tiger, and Jalen Reed. But, you could tell real quickly that, Cam Carter is certainly, I think, going to be my favorite to lead the team in scoring most every night. He's got a great attack to the rim. He's got a very good outside jump shot. And then, Jai Bailey looked good. Sears looked good. Mike Williams looked like he was ready to score the minute he got in the game. So I like it. I think the college game today, not all that different from the NBA, is a guard-oriented league. And, in the NBA, they got 6'10 and 6'11 guards. But in the college ranks, to have a strong backcourt that, can facilitate the offense as well as score when you need a basket is critical. And, I don't know that LSU quite had that over the last 2 years. So that was the thing I took away. Now, you can't glean a lot in that competition. Yeah. Goodness knows Loyola was very outmatched. But I like the fact that they played together. I mean, they had a good assist ratio. I like their defense. I mean, again, I don't know that they'll shoot as well as they did from three-point land, when we get to bigger competition. But, you got to make shots, huh? And it's what Coach Brady said the other night. Whether you got somebody on you or you're open, you got to make shots. And, I think that LSU has some shooters in this backcourt, and they complement it with the inside play of some really athletic guys like Damian Collins and Jalen Reed. And hopefully when Derek Fountain gets back to full strength, he can provide a little bit of muscle down there. But I think it'll be a guard-oriented team, and I think it's going to be a team that runs up and down the floor. I don't know if 110 you can count on every night, but I think they'll be able to put some points on the board.
I was surprised to hear Coach McMahon say he was perfectly fine with him shooting 37 threes in a game. I think there's going to be a little bit of shift toward that. He said he was okay with basically a 1-to-1 with threes to twos. Did that surprise you a little bit?
A little bit, except for the fact there was a lot of catch and shoot three. And there was a lot of, again, going back to distributing the basketball. And he made a point to tell us that after the game when we talked about his three-point shooting. He said, what I liked the best was, getting the ball to the open man and getting the open three, not forcing the three off the dribble. We're trying to create a three-point shot, which the Tigers, especially last year, tried to do and were unsuccessful. So I think his answer really, if you dig down on it, would be, if we're getting inside dribble penetration and kick out open threes, shoot 37 of them. If we're trying to take guys in the SEC off the bounce and rise up for a 23-footer, maybe not. So I think if they can continue to move the ball side to side, get some of that penetration and kick out, I like these guys shooting the ball when they got an open look.
Enjoy the weekend off. We'll talk to you, see you in the PMAC next Wednesday for the opener.
We'll do it. Thanks, Hunt.
Chris Blair, LSU Sports Radio Network, voice of the Tigers, good enough to join us on Thursdays. Our Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's. When we come back, lots been made of this Bryce Underwood story. I've got my thoughts. We'll talk about the number one player in the nation and his commitment to LSU as we get closer and closer to National Signing Day in December. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Their airline in Piku right there near Women's Hospital. I know a lot of folks don't love the sales experience of buying a car. don't like going on to the lot and having a salesman run over to you and attack you and being, look at this car, look at this car, look at this deal, we can do this for you. And it's just kind of an uncomfortable situation. That's never going to be the case at Genesis of Baton Rouge. First of all, they've got an incredible facility there, and their brand ambassadors are fantastic to work with. They're not going to put any pressure on you. They're just going to let you know what you want to know. They'll get you behind any of those line of Genesis vehicles. And if you don't want to go to the lot, that's okay. They'll come to you. Just call them up, Genesis of Baton Rouge, say, hey, I'd like to test drive this. They'll bring one over to you at work. They'll bring one to your house, and you can ride around with one of their brand ambassadors and just see how well and how sleek and how stylish those Genesis of Baton Rouge drive. It's all about luxury at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every single purchase comes with a 10-year, 100,000-mile warranty. That includes 3 years of complimentary maintenance, valet maintenance at that. They'll come to you to test drive. They'll come to you to do maintenance on your car if you shop at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at Genesis of Baton Rouge. Genesis of Baton Rouge.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. On 104.5 ESPN by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Tune in Saturday for a college football doubleheader. First, Michigan will host number 1 Oregon at 2:30, and then number 7 Tennessee will host Kentucky in a SEC matchup there at 7 p.m. It's all right here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. And then tune in on Sunday for an NFL Week 9 triple header. First, the Falcons host the Cowboys at noon, followed by the Lions and Packers at 3:25, and the Colts and Vikings at 7:20. Then Monday, the Chiefs host the Bucs for Monday Night Football. Your home for the NFL is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, thanks to Chris Blair for giving us a little bit of time here, as he does on Thursdays. No Brian Kelly show this week with the off week. Be back in action next Monday with Brian Kelly's Monday press conference, which you can always find here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Chris Blair and Gordy Rush get you ready for it. Then you hear from Coach Kelly, back to Chris, and then he tosses things right back to us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. So that'll restart as usual on a game week on Monday, getting ready for LSU and Alabama. I haven't gotten to this story in the last 2 days. There's been a lot of things to talk about in the news, but I did want to cover it briefly. And I want to be clear, this is one of those segments that I do where I don't have any inside information. Not a single shred of it. None. I know exactly as much as you do reading the internet. And then I listen to Shay Dixon on Matt Moscona's show, and that's how I form my opinion on this matter. So keep in mind, no inside information here whatsoever. But Pete Nakos is reporting over at On3 that Bryce Underwood is getting a comparable NIL offer from Michigan as he is at LSU. And that's fine to report. You understand the nature of these things. I'm pretty confident that Bryce Underwood, nor his father or mother or coach, they didn't call up Pete Nakos and go, hey, man, why don't you run this story? Michigan offered us a ton of money. That's not how that went. Here's my guess as to how that went. Someone at Michigan called Pete Nakos, said, hey, again, I'm guessing, we're prepared to offer Bryce Underwood like $5 million. You can put that, do whatever you want with it. Pete Nakos wrote the story. And that's fine. But Bryce Underwood has handled this recruiting exceptionally well, in my opinion. Young people handle things the way that they want to handle things. I approve of the way some do. I don't approve of the way some others do. It's their life, their situation. They can do whatever it is they want to do. But Bryce Underwood went to the camp circuit, has taken some visits, some official, some unofficial. He was always interested in LSU, came down and camped, came on an official visit, has been on multiple unofficial visits, paying his way from Michigan to LSU, has built a relationship with Judge Sloan and the LSU staff, and then committed to LSU. And since then, has not gone on visits. He's never gone on an official visit to Michigan. Hasn't been on campus in a recruiting capacity 35 minutes away from his house since he committed to LSU. And this story that, oh man, LSU should be concerned, hometown Michigan is coming to get the number one player in the nation right out from under your class at the 11th hour, look out. I just don't buy it at all. How many quotes are out there from Bryce Underwood and his camp saying, we understand that NIL is a big deal, but in our estimation, we're going to pick where Bryce wants to spend his time, where he feels development is going to happen, where he's comfortable. And his plan is to get to the NFL, sign a deal, get to the second deal, and do what Joe Burrow just did, and do what Dak Prescott just did, and do what Jalen Hurts just did. Do what Trevor Lawrence has done, and make hundreds of millions of dollars on that, where this 1.4 a year becomes largely insignificant. That's their plan. Now, whether that happens or not, the future will tell us. But that's how they've handled the recruiting process. And they've looked at LSU as a place that, under a different staff, developed Joe Burrow, and under most of this staff, developed Jaden Daniels, with the wide receivers that generally come through this program. And they see LSU as the best place for that, and have done nothing but say that repeatedly in the media and then act on that in the recruiting process. Visiting LSU officially, unofficially. Not going elsewhere officially or unofficially. So this story that should be shaking LSU fans to their core, that there's some massive NIL offer out there, I just don't care. I don't think it's important. I'm not telling Pete Nakos not to write the story. Far from it. He covers NIL for On3. He gets that information. You write the story. Fine. That's not on him. That's his job. I'm just telling you as an LSU fan, if he decides to go play for a team that can't complete a forward pass, that has a guy who appears to be well over his skis as the head coach, who is not fostering a relationship with you half an hour down the road because Michigan showed up with a $6 million check, I'll need to see that to react to it. Meaning, I'm not going to react at all to this story as a fan, as an analyst, and someone who's talking to you. I feel like it's my job to give the opinion, same way it's Pete Nichols' job to write the story. It's my job to give you my opinion on it. That's why I'm here for 2 hours every weekday. But as a football fan, an LSU fan, when I saw the story, I didn't care at all. And I would suggest that that's probably the way that you should approach it. That's just my 2 cents on the entire story. Bryce Underwood is going to sign with LSU. He's going to come to LSU. He may never complete a pass at LSU. He may win 2 national championships and a Heisman. I don't know. But the fact that Michigan, who's not taking him on visits and not going on in-home visits and not fostering a relationship and not calling him every day, is just going to float this cash at the end and steal him away with no relationship being built, despite what his family has said every step of the way, I'm just not buying that at all. And I don't think it's a story at all, and I'm pretty much done with it. That's just the way I feel about it. Now, on a different note with LSU football, as we kind of get closer to wrapping up the show, some great news for LSU. On the Jordy Culotta show this morning, Jacoby and Gillery announced that he is going to come back to LSU for a 6th season. Pete Jenkins, LSU's defensive line coach from last year, is a legend here in Baton Rouge, and he was on Matt Moscona's show earlier this year after Jacobian got hurt, and he told Matt on the air that Jacobian had told him that he's going to come back. And that wasn't a news story we were going to run with. That's just Pete Jenkins talking to Matt on the air. But these rumors had been out there, and Pete had confirmed them here on our airwaves. And it's great news for LSU, because I think Jacoby and Gillery had a phenomenal fall camp. I was, as most people, really concerned with what LSU's defensive front was going to look like this year. And Jacoby and Gillery was really the only proven piece that was there. Now, he was proven as a backup and not a starting player, but he was big and strong and physical in camp. He was winning one-on-ones routinely with interior offensive linemen, whether it was DJ Chester or LSU's 2 veteran guards. He really looked the part, and unfortunately got hurt early in the season and was lost for the year. But the good news is he is able to come back. And Jacobian's one of those guys, you heard interviews with him in fall camp, like, he's just always wanted to play for LSU. And he grew up in Alexandria and wanted to be an LSU Tiger, and he got that opportunity, and he got to LSU, and he was never a starting player. Even so, he never left, never transferred, never entered the portal, never looked around. He just wanted to play for LSU. And he may have a professional future in football, he may not. But he's only got one more chance to play for LSU, and he's going to take that, which is a big deal for the Tigers. You look at the way that Ahmad Bro has played this year, which has been admirable as a young player who probably shouldn't be in that position. You figure he'll make an improvement in year 2. You hope Dominic McKinley, as an interior player, can really blossom into a star. But Jacoby and Gillery will be kind of your anchor. Gio Paez will move on to the NFL, and you've got to restock those shelves. And defensive tackle is a tough place to do it, but you've got to win games. And you saw LSU get hurt badly with the ground game over the weekend, and I'm not telling you Jacoby and Gillery would have fixed that. In fact, I would tell you he probably wouldn't have fixed it, but he certainly would have hurt. And I think it's great for Jacobian to make that decision. I think it's great for LSU. You're going to lose some real talent up front on defense. You're going to lose Braden Swinson. Savion Jones certainly has the opportunity to move on if he wants to. Gio Paez will be gone. You're kind of looking at who's going to be next there. And to have a 6th-year senior come back motivated to be a leader, to be kind of the alpha in that room and to help you at the point of attack while those young guys, Bro and McKinley and some of those other players, come on, that's a big deal. So I'm thrilled that Jacoby and Gillery has decided to come back. Announced that on the Culotta show today. And LSU will certainly take him next year, as they're going to be replacing a lot of talent on the defensive side of the football. That's part of this development. This staff has got to restock those shelves, and they've got to be better on defense than they have been. I trust that they will be. A little bit of a step back in the second half on Saturday, but Jacoby and Gillery hope to give them a step forward coming up this offseason and into next football season in 2025. All right, that's your look at LSU for the day. If you're looking for LSU football content, you can always find it at Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. All your LSU football news right there. Recruiting right there. LSU football talk right there. None of the basketball, baseball, football. None of that. All football all the time on Hunt on LSU. So go ahead and subscribe to it so those videos feed right to your channel each and every day. Come back and close things out on a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com. Jonathan Carbo, fantastic to work with. If you're a business owner or you're in HR and your job is to make sure that your employees have got the right benefits, the right group benefits, Highland Insurance Group can help you with that. Benefits are a huge deal. You got to use them to attract people to work for you and to keep people working for you and to keep people happy. Health insurance is a big, big deal. It's a big expense as well. You want to make sure that you're in the right place. You've got the right options, and the Highland Insurance Group is happy to help you out with that. They also do commercial property and casualty insurance, whether it's your EPL, your crime, your D&O, cyber, your umbrella. If you don't know what those are and you know that you got insurance that costs a lot, but I'm not real sure what all these acronyms stand for, have your insurance broker you can trust. You can with the Highland Insurance Group. Jonathan Carver's team are fantastic right here in Baton Rouge, but they can help you out statewide here in the state of Louisiana. Go to the website online, highlandig.com. It's the Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept secret.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
World Series ended last night. Man, that 5th inning was something to watch. Aaron Judge drops a line drive. Then you got Garrett Cole forgetting to cover first base, which was just unfathomable. I get really cranky when professional athletes fail to do something that like high school sophomores just do on command. Like there's a ground ball to the first baseman and Garrett Cole doesn't go cover first. He runs 3 steps and then just stops. And Rizzo feels it and looks up and there's just no Garrett Cole there. That just doesn't make any sense.
We're all human, Hunt. Make mistakes. That was a big one. I understand
Aaron Judge dropping a fly ball is a mistake. Not covering first is criminal.
I don't disagree, but again, even the best players, have some crazy, wacky, weird plays like that where something just doesn't click in their head.
Bad stuff. And look, the Dodgers are finally off the hook. In this just absolute free-for-all of spending that they've done, they really didn't have anything to show for it because you've only won the COVID title, which everyone can throw a real big asterisk on it. You didn't have to go on the road in the playoffs and any of that. And it's just not really the same thing. We all honored it at the time because we were desperate for sports, but it wasn't the same. And they finally really broke through with this one, winning the World Series on the road in Yankee Stadium. It's easier to do when you got 3 MVPs in your lineup and you've got Ohtani and Freeman and Betts, and you still got guys like Kike Hernandez and Walker Buehler was great, and you went and signed a pitcher from Japan who you paid $1 bajillion to, and it's easier to do. But I just will go on record. I support their ownership's ability to just go spend $1 bajillion. I wish the Cubs would do that.
The crazy thing too is Ohtani didn't really do much in the World Series.
Not in the World Series,
he had 2 hits. I mean, obviously,
Freeman did.
Yeah, Freeman really carried him, and man, it's. What a season for Freddie Freeman. Win the World Series MVP, and the Braves have to be kicking themselves right now.
Yeah, but they got Olsen, and he's been awesome.
Yeah.
I think what Freeman did, he probably didn't need it, quite frankly, but I think he cemented his Hall of Fame legacy with that one.
Yeah, probably.
Won an MVP in the COVID year. He's been just an amazing hitter. He's going to rack up some ridiculous statistics in this era, especially relative to strikeouts and batting average, where he never strikes out and he hits for a ton of average with some pop. And then you put together this postseason where he hit homers in 6 straight World Series games, 5 in this World Series. That's remarkable. He had a huge 2-out single last night as well. So to be the World Series MVP and to add that to what he's done in the regular season, I think cemented him as a Hall of Famer. So the Dodgers, World Series champions. I guess the Cubs will have to wait till next year to get that done.
Always next year, Hunt.
That's it. Wait till next year. Take it or leave it.
All right, first one here. Stocking up on half-price candy after Halloween. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave it. I just don't need a ton of candy in my house. There's a little candy in my house. No, I usually like to eat one little peanut butter cup for dessert as just a little sweet thing.
What a health-conscious guy you are.
Even when I was on... I'm just not a guy that's just going to sit there and eat a bunch of candy or ice cream on the couch. That's not... I'm more likely to have one too many beverages on a Thursday night than I am to go eat 5 candy bars or a bag of chips or something. That's just the way that I'm going to go. I don't need half price, but I will say we're looking for the GOAT of Halloween candy. I got to go Reese's with a slight nod to Starburst as number 2 based on what you generally get. I mean, what's your type? You can't beat Reese's. You just can't beat it.
No, the peanut butter eggs are probably the best candy in my opinion. I guess I'd go that or Kit Kat is really solid. I really like Kit Kat too.
Cassie, you got a favorite Halloween candy?
I go Kit Kat or Twix. I don't like peanut butter and chocolate together.
Wow. Okay.
That's
interesting.
ludicrous, but I'll take.
I go Twix.
I'll tell you what I have done in the past, Beck, is I've made milkshakes at home, like vanilla Bluebell ice cream, and tossed some Reese's peanut butter cups into that. It's real stuff.
Yeah, that's really good.
That's like a 3 times a year thing, but every once in a while the mood hits and you're just like, I'm going with a milkshake.
We used to do shakes with peanut butter and Oreos in it. That was great. Good stuff. All right, next one here. Braving the elements tonight. Take it or leave it.
Not too many elements. We're gonna leave that. You got the 3-year-old who doesn't like rain a lot. We'll monitor.
That's interesting. Usually kids love the rain.
He don't want to be in the rain.
Okay.
I love to be in the rain. He'll look at me and go, "It's too wet out there. It's too wet out there. I don't want to get wet." I'm like, "All right, buddy, we don't have to get wet." He doesn't even like playing in the sprinkler,
That's
which is
crazy, man.
Primo kid activities.
Yeah.
He's done it once. One time he loved it, and now he hates it again. So You never know. We will try to make it work if we can. We only need, like I've said 3 times, like we got to hit like 4 houses. We have candy at home. We can like stock. We can put some more. He didn't need a ton of candy anyway, but he's just excited to put the dinosaur.
Absolutely. Next one here. Trey Morgan was named a player to watch by Baseball America after his start in the Arizona Fall League. Morgan at 333 in the minors last year, got called up all the way to Double-A at the end of the season. Morgan will be called up within the next 2 seasons. Take it or leave it.
I'll take that. His descent's been crazy. Now, it's the easiest descent is from rookie ball to Double-A.
Yes.
That's the quickest you go. They're going to move everybody up in that, especially when you're as high as pick as Trey was. Getting from Double-A to the big leagues is hard.
Yep.
And so his good news is he's in an organization that is real flexible with personnel, doesn't have a bunch of guys entrenched in places. They move guys all the time in trades and whatnot. So I think he's got a real chance to make it up, and I'll be pulling for him. I'm thrilled with the way he swung the bat in professional ball. I wasn't sure what his professional prospects were. Great college hitter, great college first baseman defensively. I didn't know professionally what it would look like without much power, but he's hit for a little bit of power early, so I'm pulling for him.
And last one here, Bronny James made a jump shot.
He did!
With 2.5 minutes to play in a 24-point Lakers loss. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. He obviously did it there. That's great. He did a post-game interview session because of it after they got crushed by the Cavs. So Dog and Pony Show continues.
Apparently it's over, though. I think he's going to go down to the G League now.
Had to play in Cleveland.
Yeah,
Dad's old stomping grounds. Got to make that happen. Yep. So, if he's fine with it, I'm fine with it. My instinct is to feel bad for him because he's being paraded out like a dog and pony show. But if he's fine with it, whatever. It's fine. So that's it for Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're presented by Rouse's Markets. Download the Rouse's app. Always tell you about that. You can do your shopping digitally right there. Drive on up. They'll come out and hand it to you. As long as you spend $35, you don't spend an extra cent in the store. So it's always a great option to do your grocery shopping virtually with Rouse's on that app. All right. That's it for me today. If you missed any of the show, catch it on demand. We had Jay Johnson in the first hour talking baseball, Luke Johnson on the Saints as well. And my thoughts on Bryce Underwood. Catch it all on demand. Matt's going to drive you home on After Further View. Y'all stay safe and dry, trick-or-treating out there. We'll see you tomorrow, same time on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, avssla.com is the website. Mitchell Fisher and his team are fantastic to work with. Audio, video, and security. I tell you about it every single day. If you want whole home audio, you want your surround sound for your game watching or your movie watching experiences, they can do that for you. Video, they can sync your TV up with your audio. They can mount televisions for you. They'll supply the televisions as well. They can do all of that for you. And security. Nothing's more important than the safety and security of your home and your family. They do that as well. I give you Mitchell Fisher's cell phone number every day on this show. He's the owner of the company. He's your point guy for getting things done at your home or your business. It's 225-439-7920. That's 225-439-7920. AVSS was named the People's Choice Award winner for Best Vendor at the Parade of Homes earlier this year. They are fantastic to work for. The installation was seamless for us, and the customer service after the installation has been great as well. Check them online at avssla.com, avssla.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Looking for the ultimate game day experience? Come to the Queen Casino in Baton Rouge. Wall-to-wall TVs mean you'll see every touchdown in HD.